welcome everybody to the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. Today's reading is the penultimate episode of the You Through the Houses series, so house number 11, so episode 11 for the 11th house. So we've only got the 12th house after this to do. So this is an exploration house by house about how those energies work for you in your life, because each house in the astrology chart governs different things in life, and the 11th house governs things around your social networks, your social media, your friendships and so forth. So those are the sort of energies that we're going to be looking at and exploring today. If you have seen other episodes of this series, you know that it's structured a little bit differently to my normal picker cards, in as much as I do a general introduction, then I do a section about the astrology for the 11th house, what it means to have particular signs in the 11th house, what it means to have particular planets in the 11th house. This is very high level. It's not meant to be exhaustive on any level. It comes from my own knowledge of astrology, plus also research on reputable sites on the internet to kind of get the key distillation of those energies. And it's there for people who know their chart enough to know what sign is in the 11th house, what planets might be in the 11th house. So you can get a bit more information if you're not an astrologer, but you've seen your chart, or if you know your birth time, birthplace and birth date, obviously, you can go to free online sites and generate a chart to see what planets you have in this house and what sign you have in this house. So it's there for those who are interested. If any astrologers want to listen in and add to it in the comments, that's very welcome. But if you are an astrologer, it's very high level. You probably don't need to listen to it. It's just if you do want to add to the story on some level. And if you don't know don't know your details, you don't have your chart, don't worry, you don't need to have it to go to these readings, because these readings aren't necessarily about any of those things. We've got a choice of 4 and it's more choosing by your intuition than anything to get the right reading or readings if you want to go to more than one. So that's the general outline of what we're going to be doing in the particular structure. So it'll have that, then it'll have the picker pile, and then it will have the readings themselves. So if you don't want to listen to astrology, just go straight to the timestamp below and go to the picker pile section and go from there. And one thing I do want to say before I go into the astrology is I do personal readings now. You can get that through my Etsy store if you want to do that. That's the only way you can get it. I'm never going to try and solicit you to do a reading, or put something in the comments, or DM you on Twitter or anything like that. So if anything like that happens, it's a scam artist, it's not me. The only way, you just go to my description box below and find the connection to my Etsy store, or it's also on my about page of this channel, and you come to me and you decide if you want a reading, and if so, what type of reading, and it goes from there. If you do that, please make sure you put your email address in the personalization box. There are certain ways where if you log on to Etsy, particularly as a guest, where your communication or contact details can be a bit obscured. And if that's the case, it can be hard for me to get in touch to get you your reading and to make sure that you've received it. So if I can't make contact with you over a few days, then it may be that I'll need to refund the money and not do the reading, because I don't want to take your money and then not have it get to you. So please make it easier for me by making sure there's an email contact in the personalization box. Okay, so I'm going to now go to the astrology section of this. So I've taken some notes from my own sort of understanding of all of this, and also, as I say, from a bit of research. So I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly and methodically, sign by sign and then planet by planet. So stay for this bit if you're interested. Otherwise, click onto the pick a pile section of the video. So I'm going to start with signs. So if you have Aries in the 11th house, you're a self-starter in groups and friendships. You might be a bit dominant, potentially, the leader of the group. You're very action-oriented, very ambitious, probably want to be with other sort of very fiery, action-oriented, ambitious sort of groups and people who want to make a difference. If you have Taurus in the 11th house, you enjoy the good life with friends, love to sort of like go out and have a good time, enjoy all the things of the earth, and so to speak. You're very loyal, can be a bit stubborn, however, in friendships, and also about who you connect with. So, make sure you broaden your horizons if you feel that you're only looking for people who are exactly like you. If you have Gemini in the 11th house, you like witty, intellectual, meetings of the mind type friendships. You're a bit changeable and variable in your friend groups. It may be that if you got all your friends together in a dinner party, a lot of them would be thinking, well, why is this person here? Because you are very eclectic in what you like and find interesting in friendships. If you have Cancer, it's very likely, Cancer in the 11th house that is, it's very likely that there are family connections, friends and family, networks that build out from that, and that's quite important for who you mix with. You're very loyal, you're very protective of your friends. If you have Leo in the 11th house, you like dramatic, charismatic people. You are likely to be the life of the party. You like to be around people who want to have a good time and very creative people. If you have Virgo in the 11th house, friendships have particular places in your life, like everything to some degree with Virgo has a place. So your friendships have a place and a time, and you're very loyal to giving them that time, but you sort of also have other things in their place, so to speak, so your work time and your friendship time and your love time and so forth. You like very sort of health or strategy related groups or problem solving groups, that kind of thing with Virgo. If you've got Libra there, then you are drawn to equity and justice groups, very fair-minded, you like a meeting of minds and values, and you really are very, very fair with your friends. With Scorpio, friendships are likely to be very intense. You really like to mix with people who want to go into in-depth issues and really have the deep and meaningful sort of discussions. Very loyal. You don't like superficial connections. Sagittarius in the 11th house means that you're likely to connect on causes or maybe through travel or through higher learning. You love freedom and equity-based groups. You really want to see expansion through your friendship circles. With Capricorn in the 11th house, you may find all of your friends and networks are connected to career or your vocation in some way. You could also be drawn to and involved in political or power-oriented groups, and maybe with conservative values in very broad terms, not necessarily politically. With Aquarius in the 11th house, you're very future and science-oriented sort of groups, always want to look to the bigger picture, want to discuss what's coming next. You want connections which through you and your connection to them, you can change the world in some way. And if you have Pisces in the, and Aquarius is its natural sign too, so you would be in your natural sign. With Pisces, you like psychic, spiritual connections, groups, friends, and so forth. You very much value deep emotional connections. A bit like Scorpio, you don't want superficial friendships. You want to know that you get to the heart of it all. Okay, now for planets. If you have the sun in the 11th house, you're likely to be humanitarian. You want everyone to be equal. You want to belong, and your identity is very much linked to larger groups or your ideals in some way. You're very tolerant. If you have the moon in the 11th house, you also need to belong on a very emotional level, but you do find sometimes that your friendship circle can be a bit unstable or changeable, and you're very dream and wish oriented. You have emotional fulfillment through groups. With Mercury in the 11th, you're very curious about people. You're very curious about groups. You like people with new ideas who are forward-looking and fair-minded. With Venus, you need your lover to be your friend. So love and friendship is very much connected. You like unconventional people and relationships. With Mars in the 11th, you like to organise events and groups. So you're the kind of self-starter in your friendship circle. You're engaging and helpful, maybe a bit bossy sometimes. And some can think you seem detached, but interestingly enough, you like intense people. So it probably depends on the type of friendship and group. If you have Jupiter in the 11th house, your social life means a lot. You may benefit through your friends, or you may be very much a guardian angel to your friends. There's an altruistic nature to your friendships and social circles, and you value freedom within them. If you have Saturn, you might prefer your own company. You're certainly not into casual friendships. If they're going to be a friendship, they're going to be very sort of deep and connected. You take them very seriously when you have them. So you're likely not to have a large social circle, but it's likely to be a very intense and connected one. You might be uncomfortable in really big group activity. If you have Uranus in the 11th house, you may be a bit too independent for groups. You're probably not a joiner, so to speak. You have very idealistic goals, and you can be very charming and witty, but some may think you seem erratic or aloof or a bit of a loner. With Neptune in the 11th, you are very accepting, you're very humanitarian and idealistic about your friendships, very flexible. You might find boundaries between what you believe, think, feel, and your friends is a little bit hard. It's a little bit porous, the boundaries between that. You're always yearning for more emotional connection, more spiritual connection with your friendships. If you have Pluto in the 11th house, you have a kind of all or nothing sort of view about friendships. There could be power issues, a changeable social life, very intense friendships, and very much connected to power groups for change and transformation. And then finally with Chiron, if you have that in the 11th house, wherever Chiron is, there's some wounding from the past normally that is being healed. This could show the archetypal child who felt very different from the peers at school, who was really different, unusual, unique, felt a little bit detached or even rejected in those days. So what may be part of your healing in this sort of latter stage of your life is around finding those that you can connect to and that won't reject you. So you may be looking for a little bit of validation through groups and where you are accepted. So that is, as I say, a very high level overview of the signs and the planets that are at play in the 11th house if you have them in your chart. So now I'm going to go to the timestamp where we do pick a pile. So welcome back to everybody who wanted to come just to pick a pile, and thank you to those who were interested and listened to the astrology. I'm just going to put down the numbers as I always do. And so what we're going to look at in this particular reading is that we're going to have a look at sort of information around your key sort of friendship circle, and we're also going to look at your social media influence. So a little bit of information on both of those things at a high level. Then with tarot, we're going to look at the energies around friendships that are around now, and also the same with social media, and then maybe what you don't see in these sort of spaces where it's all about interrelationships with others. We're then going to see what energies to make sure you bring in the friends and the influence that you do want. We're going to look at people and energies to help you create your ideal, and then we will bring it together with some astrology and the Astro Chakra card. So it's going to be about where you are now, and then also how do you bring in more of the people and the influence that you want. To help choose, I'm using different tarot decks in each of the readings and to roughly represent the different signs or the different elements. It doesn't mean if you, for instance, are an air sign in the 11th house that you have to come to pile 1, because I don't know what the cards are below this or how the reading is going to play out. I'm just trying to cover all those things in case that is something that makes you feel, okay, I'm drawn to that because I know that. And you certainly don't need to know what sign is in your 11th house to intuit which reading or readings work for you. And by all means, go to more than one if you want. But for the first reading, we have the Page of Swords. I'm using the pages because they represent the number 11, if you think of it sequentially in the minor arcana. So the Page of Swords from the Ancient Revival Tarot, representing the air element. For reading number 2, I have the Page of Wands from the Flights of Fantasy Tarot, representing the fire element. For pile number 3, I have the Page of Pentacles from the Rebirth Tarot, representing the earth element. And for pile number 4, I have the Page of Cups from the Crystal Unity Tarot, representing the water element. So the different tarot decks might draw there, the different images, the number, whatever works for you. Pause the video if you need to contemplate. But when you know which reading or readings you want to go to, as always, the timestamps are in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So these cards here represent your key friendship circle energy around friendships at the moment, and this represents your sort of social media and sort of influencing side. So the two really key elements that the 11th house tends to look at. So it's interesting because it looks to me around friendship there's a little bit of sort of repair work operating at the moment for people who come to this reading if you've come to the right one. You may naturally be the healer within your friendship cycle, I think. You understand the sort of the two extremes within your friendship group between sort of spiritual sort of purity and kind of doing the right thing and the kind of rebel heart I think that Amy Winehouse represents here, the sort of the testing of the depths, the testing of extremes, great deal of emotional depth, but nevertheless sort of taking risks. And then the divinity, which is almost sort of very pure. You may have two very different sorts of friendship circles. You might have one sort of group that's very much around spiritual activities and so forth, and one that is really about the good life and experimentation. But I think for many of you, part of your role within your social group and part of the energy that you process through social relationships is the energy of repairing and healing and balancing these two energies. Because we also have square and trine. And so looking at those as what they represent as sort of astrological patterns, the trine is about where things easily move together, work together. The square is when they're in opposition. So I feel that there's a big part of your social life, either right now, it might be just very specific for now, or it might be that this is part of your real pattern in how you have relationships. And I think there could be a bit of that with the rescuer over there, but I'll get to that, where you are the peacekeeper and you understand both sides of the argument. I just feel that you have very different sorts of friends and they don't always get along if you had them in the same room, but you know how to kind of build the bridges. And if there are disputes around your friends, you know how to fix it up. And if there was a dispute, if you went into, kind of a square energy, a sort of argumentative energy, you would be the one who would be the first to sort of hold out your hand to fix it, to own what was yours. Now, the risk around that is, of course, sometimes taking on more than you should. If you are trying to be very pure in this and there are other people around you that are not, then if you're always being the one who's making amends, then that may get out of balance. So I think there's something in here about how you use those skills, and they're very valued within your friendship circle, but there is also the thing about making sure that it is for the right reasons. Because something is actually in square and it needs to be in square, then if you sort of rush in and try and fix it, then you may self-sacrifice or something that really does need to be brought to the surface and dealt with might, in a sense, be kind of squashed down and papered over to some degree. So I think there's just an element about how you balance the differences of your friendships and how you make sure that you are not always the one who's having to fix everything up. Because over here around social networks as well and social influence and social media, I think that this is partly saying that some of these things are very different groups that you come across through social media. So you may do a lot in that space. I think you are very much a networker and you're very much about your voice with Mercury here and with voice. You could work in sort of social media or social influencing in some way, or certainly communicate in that way and very effectively, very much able to connect and bring people together. But you've got a little bit of the rescuer here. And this is about your sense of philosophy, your sense of spirituality. Tyra Banks was very individual and was able to sort of really take herself out into the world and create an empire. So you have that capacity to do that. And particularly if you take your learning and your very quick mind and great way of articulating out into the world and your networking skills. But the one Achilles heel that you have potentially is wanting to rescue from situations that aren't working out. If you keep moving into that role, you may limit some of what you can achieve. So I think that there's a little bit of a hint around this for your 11th house about you have excellent friendship networking skills. You're really good at it, and you're really good at having a diverse range of people around you, being influential around it, getting to the philosophical and the sort of educated levels, all of that kind of thing, making something of it in the world. But this sort of pull to kind of, it's almost like your own internal pull between the sort of higher order of who you are and almost more and this is not sort of like saying Tyra Banks is sort of the same energy as what Amy Winehouse would present, but this is more the glitz, the glam, the creativity, the wild. And then you've got the sort of philosophical and the spiritual. So I think there's something that you work through with your friendships and your social media voice around that. And I think that the key thing that Spirit wants to say is don't get to the point where you're always being the peacemaker. Sometimes the disputes need to come out. Sometimes it's going to be that certain friendship groups don't mix with others. And there's nothing really wrong with that. You don't have to connect everybody. Just because you're good at connecting people doesn't mean you somehow have to smooth everything over, because by doing that, you may sort of stop the voices on all levels from really coming through. And so you get a very sort of kind of vanilla type outcome that isn't actually helping anybody that you're trying to connect. So I think there's a little bit of a rescuer archetype in you, a little bit of a I'm going to heal and mend everything. And there will be circumstances where that works very well for you if you have a particular cause and you find the right people to work with you on that cause. But internal battles between friendship groups and networks, just step back a bit first before you take on this role, I think is what Spirit's saying. So let's have a look with the tarot. Let's see, firstly, the energies around your friendship circles now, then the social media, and we'll see whether, there's one or other of them that this is more of an issue, or if there's other sort of issues that Spirit wants to talk about as well around what's going on right now. And then we're going to see what you don't see. So the current energies around your friendship circles at this point. Okay. There is a little bit, I think it's a little bit subterranean, but I think there is a little bit of vying for attention operating. You may find that different people want your attention more than others. You may be trying to balance and juggle that. You have certain people around you who look to you, I think, and this is part of the repair, to make them feel better about themselves. I think they do see you as someone who's very accomplished, very good with friends, very, very articulate. They really look up to you. But it's like, I think that they are looking to you to sort of like help them make some decisions so that they can feel recognised. The whiplash that can come with that is that they could eventually start to compete with you. Now, it's not showing that right now, but it's just something to be aware of, that sometimes when you help somebody out on that sort of level, there might come to that point about when does the student become the master, and what does that mean? Like, how does that shift on some level? So I think there's some things around that for you at the moment, but there's a very strong philosophical connection. Whatever else is different about the different groups of people that you mix with, there's a kind of a philosophical, education, sort of spiritual connection. There is a strength there. You do bring in good people on that level, people who really align with your values, and people who are also very good communicators. So, you may be part of a network that is all about communication in some way, particularly with some of the energy over here. It's sort of like the education and the capacity to communicate are very much a strength around some of your social circles. And I feel like your social circles there bleed into career or vocation in some way as well. But there's just something where there's some which they want kind of your help to make material decisions and feel more recognized. So if you are around a lot of people like you, and I think you're very articulate, very witty, very able to sort of like present a case, argue a case. Some of you could be, sort of in media, could be in law, could be in anything like that. If you're around a lot of people like that, there is a little bit of subversive competition that operates there. And if there are people who are a bit quieter and feel less able to compete, pay attention, because you really do want people to feel comfortable. Pay attention to the people who aren't getting to talk much in the group, because there'll be something going on there. Part of being almost a social savant, and I think you have that real potential, is to be able to pick up when that sort of stuff's going on and sort of redirect subtly some of the attention so that people don't feel left out. And that's a good way to sort of rescue and repair without being really overt about it. Okay, so let's have a look at what the current energies around your social media and sort of social influencing energies are. Okay, you're very strong in this, very, very strong in this, very able to compete, very articulate, very seen, very able to make your point of view get across. And a lot of you could be social influencers. If you aren't now, you could very well become that. If you do, you're doing it to do this rescuing and to repair in some way. There's something about your strength of purpose and your courage, which in your social media thing helps other people move out of periods of being a bit lost emotionally and working out what they care about. Some of you could work very much around sort of the healing therapies and so forth, and the emotional therapies for people, definitely. There's also, however, the possibility, because you are so strong and so competitive, that there could be a little bit of covert discontent. You know, you could get some sort of like backlash potentially, you know, you say something and somebody misrepresents it. That could happen. So there could be almost a law of diminishing returns for some of what you do in social media if you find that's coming. But you're very brave, so that would only be an issue for you if you really felt, you know, this is just too much white noise and it's negative and it's going to hurt me and others. Otherwise, I think it's much more likely that this rescuing and repairing energy is somehow part of what you take out into the world in your social media. So then let's see what you don't see. We'll pull 3 cards for that, just to see what is hidden to you at the moment around all of this. Okay. So within your social circle and maybe your social media circle, and maybe the two kind of connect anyway, there are differences that maybe you don't even see at this point in time. And there is some emotional discontent and a little bit of emotional overdoing. There is a possibility that some come to you to repair and rescue them all the time because it feels good that you do that. That's been the role that you've been given. You're not even aware that it's happening. You always seem to be dealing with emotional hyperbole. And it's got to do with people who don't feel as strong as you. So it's almost as though there's maybe some people around you who look up to you to rescue them and constantly rescue them. But there's almost a little bit of resentment at the same time. Like, you know, they want to be you, they can't be you, so you better look after them. So this is why Spirit wants you to sort of understand that you have this beautiful open heart and this sort of like sense of repairing and healing things, and you're very, very good at it. But there's a subterranean thing going on with your friendships as well. And if you pay attention, again, you're paying attention to who's not speaking, or to the one who's always constantly ringing you up. Is that person actually subtly not only kind of like feeding off you, but, you know, also in other forums competing with you? Watch for those things, because your presence is so strong and you're so brave, you may not see it, but there's something like that bubbling under the surface for you that's worth knowing about. Okay, so given that, let's look at what sort of energies around you, sort of spiritual and otherwise, could help you bring in more of the people that you want around you and less of these kind of like vampiric or competitive energies. So we're just going to use 3 different decks to just get some spiritual advice about that for you. So body talk, connect to the wisdom of your body for optimum health, wellness and vitality. So there might be sort of something about if people are dealing with sort of healthy sort of issues or healthy boundaries and all that kind of stuff, it may be around what feels good, what feels kinesthetically to you. If you feel a bit sick when somebody rings you up, pay attention to that. On the other hand, if you feel enlivened, that's a good energy to have around you. And universal child. Within a child's eyes lies a universe where innocence is guided by love and trust, has no boundaries. So that's interesting. It may be that a lot of this energy is kind of just immature energy. So you may be able to see that and see what's within them and help them to sort of feel better. This might be why part of what you actually do for people through your sort of social network, social media, social influencing is to make people start to see the inner child within and grow up. So you may be able to, I think Spirit's saying, transmute quite a bit of this energy by kind of allowing that it's not coming from a bad place, it's coming from an immature place, and allowing the innocence for that, and then helping them have tools. But remember, you know, the best thing that you can do as a parent or as a nurturer is give them the tools to grow up, not to let them continue to repeat the sort of process. Okay, let's see another couple of spiritual energies from a different deck for you. Generosity. Yeah, you're very generous. So, and your generosity brings good people to you. It's not like everybody's a problem. And hope. Yeah, because you represent that. And this is also partly this kind of connecting into the universal child, helping people develop and then letting them be able to take their first steps without you holding their hand, sort of thing. That's an act of generosity as well, and an act of hope. Now let's get a Australian animal energy for another spiritual guidance for you as well, around bringing in the right people. So it's like allowing that you're going to draw a lot of people to you who want to learn from you, and giving them the hope and the tools to move forward. And we have Possum, the trickster. So This may be saying that that's the one thing to watch out for. You know, if they aren't taking the cues to sort of like learn and grow and take their own steps or whatever, there could be something going on that's tricky. The other side of it, however, could be that you play a little bit of the game of the jester or the trickster with them. That you're not always there for them. So if they start to get into a habit where you're always there, then pull the rug out, not cruelly, but it is in a sense an act of generosity and hope. It's making them start to walk. You know, so like a child, again, you know, like when they're first starting to walk, you know, the parental instinct will be to sort of hold their hand or to steady them, but eventually they have to let them do it themselves. And like, you know, there might be a kind of picking up the Mercury energy here, being a little bit of a trickster sometimes to just make sure that the relationships don't get out of balance, because as I say, you're so strong and confident that without even being aware of it, that could be going on. Okay, so let's have a look at some people and energies to draw in that will help you create your ideal. So we're going to start with a couple of decks that have sort of musicians and writers, and this is just to kind of get a sense both with the card that we're talking about with it, because it's playing cards, so looking at it a bit like tarot, and also the energies around it, just to get a sense of the sort of people that would be good to draw into your social circle. So Lady Gaga, okay, and Joan Baez. Okay, so Lady Gaga, very unusual, very different. In a sense, there's a very similar energy around what she does with her career and what she does with her music and some of her social causes is a bit like this, because, you know, she has her followers and so forth, but she's all about identity and so forth and dealing with identity. And this is like the Five of Cups. So it's processing what isn't working, but allowing people to feel okay and unique in their difference. So there's something in that for you, bringing in the different, the misfits, but somehow networking and making the right connections for them so that they feel the sort of generosity and the hope. And Joan Baez, very much sort of soulful, beautiful sort of harmony and so forth. And with the Six of Diamonds, that's like the Six of Wands, so making them feel better about themselves. So I think you draw in people who are different. And that's partly where this rescuing can go on, and that's where it can go a bit wrong if it's not balanced. But if you do it in a way that you empower them, that actually deals with some of these energies. Let's have a look at writers. Catherine Mansfield and Philip K. Dick. Okay, so they're very different, very future focused. So Philip K. Dick is sort of like a sci-fi dystopic sort of writer, very much about the future, very much about what's different, very much about what may feel a bit alien, with the Four of Hearts, which is like the Four of Cups, again, that emotional alienation. I don't think there's a problem with you drawing these people in. I think it's just that in such a way that they start to create and narrate their own future and feel better about themselves. And Catherine Mansfield, also that sort of modern sensibility, being unique, being different, and with the Six of Spades, which is effectively the Six of Pentacles, that sort of generosity of spirit. So I think that this is saying the sort of people to draw in are the people who are a bit different, a bit future oriented, a little bit unsure of themselves, but ready to grow. And that with giving them that sense of generosity and mutual support, you help them feel good about themselves. That actually creates the better relationships for you. So that's helpful. Let's have a look using the using the planet cards, the astrology reading cards, around some other energies, like what astrologically is good for you to draw in. And then we're also going to use the chibi anime angel cards to see kind of spiritual elements of the sort of people that would be good in your social circle. So we have the 11th house. Well, that's good. This is the 11th house. So you will draw in friends, genuine friends. It's not, none of this is to say that they aren't, but I just think it's about getting the balance right so that they become peers rather than just people who are following you. And we also have the 8th house, and to be able to get to the depth of what is different, quirky, taboo about them. There's something that's a bit different, picking up the Amy Winehouse energy and that kind of thing. It's to give that sort of energy to it, to allow them to be truly who they are. And let's see what archangel energy would help your friendship circle. Raziel, the mysteries, yeah. Yeah, there's something, and there could be spiritual, occult, spiritual sort of things around this, but very, very inspirational and so forth. Very creative. I feel like all the energy around you is very creative, actually. And Raphael, rebirth, so the healing side of it. That's you. You as a healer and helping people with the sun with their life path is better than just being a rescuer. I think this is the thing, bringing the people who want to heal onto their own life path, being who they are and get to the depths of who they are. That's how you best use your friendship energies around the different people that you attract to you. Pile 1. So to finish off, we're just going to look at some other astrology energy around your 11th house, and then we'll use the Astro Chakra cards to bring it all together. So, waxing gibbous, clarifying your direction and intention. Yeah, I think there is a bit of a need for that at the moment. I think that you've got these excellent skills for mediation, networking, repairing, healing. It's just getting it into balance, knowing what your intentions are with your friends. Pluto, because, yeah, there's something highly mysterious and transformative about what you bring to the table. 4th house. It's part of who you really are at home. And it does suggest that quite a few of your friends and so forth might be connected to family, or it could be a lot of it is in social media, so done from your home, from your computer screen. And Scorpio, 8th house, very intense. I mean, and your healing energy is very intense. And Amy Winehouse, I mean, I don't know what her sign was, but she has a kind of very scorpionic energy. So there's a lot of depth to your friendships, but they get deeper and they get more enriched if the people aren't just looking at you as the problem solver all the time. So to bring it all together for the best energy for your 11th house, pile 1, let's just get some Astro Chakra cards. The throat chakra, the root chakra, and the third eye chakra. So Pluto again is sort of coming up. A lot of your transformational power and the connections that you have will be through communication. I do think a lot of it's about Mercury. It's about your voice. I do think you're an influential person and there's a lot of power and you revitalize people. That's the thing, revitalize them. Don't just fix them, revitalize them. With at the base, who you really are with the root chakra is an individual, and that's you're authentic. One of the issues that you might deal with, I've seen this happen with people who are very authentic and very individual, is that they often attract people who want to be that as well too, but the people sublimate and they think, oh, that's what it looks like to be authentic, and try to be exactly that. You may find that as a pattern, and you need to make sure that people start to explore what is authentic about them rather than just trying to replicate you. And you, again, can use your very strong Plutonian, get to the depths, understand intuition using the third eye chakra to reveal to them the steps to do that, what it was, what made you, because something made you very clear in who you are and with a very powerful voice. Something did that. Something in your childhood or in your early career or something made you really become that individual and understand what that meant. So if you can reveal that to them, you have this deeply transformative effect in your communication on people that lets them be the authentic individual too, that then makes life more interesting in terms of your friendships as well. So I hope that that resonates for you. A very interesting group of people. And I think you can do an enormous amount of good with your friendship circle and your social media circle. But I think you do need to be aware of how much people might identify with you. If you understand that and you use your skills just slightly differently, then I think you're a powerhouse. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And if you care to share in the comments about it, I'd love to hear about it. I hope to see you in future and even potentially earlier You Through the Houses episodes if you haven't seen any before this one. And beyond that, I hope to see you in future general pick a card readings. Welcome, Pile 2, to your reading. So I just want to fix up the camera a little bit so that that's a little bit better. Sorry about the ring light that says retail over there. Those cards are around your social network, social media presence. These cards are around your friendship energy. So this is picking up energy probably in general in your life, but also what's sort of happening right now. And we'll drill more into what's happening right now with the tarot. But I would say that I think for most of the people who've come to this, you're going through a fundamental change about who you want to mix with. Well, we've got false beliefs here and ritual together. This suggests that many of you have been in friendship circles that, might have derived out of your sort of cultural background, your family, where you went to school, something like that, or even like spiritual groups potentially that you joined. But I think that many of you with 9, which is sort of like coming to the end of a cycle and the completion step that you get with 10, and I also see 9s as very independent. There is a sense here you've been part of groups and really collaborated and community, and that's been very important to you. But something very individual about you, with something like Kate Bush coming out, is really starting to rise. So this feels like you're moving from something very conventional in your friendship circle, where now you no longer believe what the people around you believe. You sort of feel a little bit like a stranger in a strange land around many of your friends. You feel like you almost are just going through the motions to sort of fit in with the group still, but you have this yearning to go towards sort of completion and power and individuality. And there's a very creative soul in you that wants to come out that is different. I mean, Kate Bush was always different, always a bit mysterious, always a bit fey. So there's definitely a spiritual side to this, but it feels like, you could be in a fairly conventional spiritual group, but there's something very sort of more spiritual on the kind of mysterious sort of end of things that's coming through. So I think part of your journey in general, and probably pretty much at the moment around friendships, is what is really authentic to you. Like, what do you really believe? Because that's more important ultimately to your friendships than just fitting in. So some of you may have had to fit in at school, or fit in with a university class, or fit in with a political group or something like that. There could have been very particular reasons why you had to do it, but I feel like you're recalibrating now what that is and what is your true community that allows you to be truly yourself. Because I think from your social media, from your social influencing, from the degree to which you get your voice out into networks, you're stepping up in some way. With J. Paul Getty here, that's the sort of sense of, true material growth and being able to market yourself and what you do and your skills in some way. You are getting that message out there, and you're doing it very effectively with Gemini, a very good communicator. And it's got something to do with creativity, definitely. The mother energy, the mother archetype there. It could be that part of the issue, you could have had a very strong influence from your mother around that you're shifting away from, so that you're now mothering yourself and becoming more of a leader to others around that rather than a follower. It could also be that there's something very, very sort of nurturing about what you are developing and marketing more generally, nurturing others, or, doing arts and crafts or something creative that is nurturing or caring. But there's real business acumen to it. And you're at the point of starting to plan what that looks like and communicate that out there. So it's like you've been in a world that wasn't quite you. You've worked out what this world should be. You have a product which is partly you, and you're going to start to explore that more and more through social media and other networks to find your tribe. So I feel like I'm getting most of the people in pile 2 at a point of transition around your particular energy, around your sort of friendship circle and social media influencing circle and so forth. So let's see what tarot has to say, because this part of the reading is meant to be very immediate. So this is sort of almost a bigger blueprint, and it may say that you often find yourself outgrowing, with the mother energy there, outgrowing the sort of beliefs and so forth of groups, and then needing to sort of create and move on and build new ones in some way. That might be a bit of a cycle for you, but I also think it's happening at the moment. But let's ask in particular with tarot, first of all, what energies are around your friendship circle, then we'll ask around your social media circle, and then we'll ask what you don't see. So firstly, the main energies at the moment around your friendship circle. Okay, so I'm not surprised to see quite a few reversals there, because I just feel, I don't tend to read reversals as bad, but I do tend to read them as sort of suppressed energy or things that need to be resolved or thought through, and there's definitely that energy. There are some friendships that are going to stay. It's not all friendships that you're going to move away from. There will be some that will stick with you and are more who you are. But I think there's a lot of shedding of the skin of a lot of friendship going on, finding what you want in the longer term and what does that materially look like, and ones that I think are more able to be with you on this sort of business or career journey that I think is associated with it. It may be that you come from friendship circles where the idea of making money is somehow looked down upon, and you're now going to move towards people who understand that there is a value in that. But in any case, there's at least one really strong presence around your friendship circle coming up as the King of Pentacles reversed, who really probably wouldn't approve of where you're heading. And I feel like you've been in a kind of mental battle with this person for quite some time. It could even be like with the first cards and that, it could be like a leader of a spiritual group, and you're really going to separate out from that because you can see there's something that's not operating the way that it says it's operating. People are not as happy as they are pretending to be. There's a kind of pretense around happiness, and you can see it isn't there. And there's a pretense around spiritual virtues that are very anti-material, and I think you're moving into something material, but it's not there. And even if it isn't like a spiritual thing, though I think a lot of you could be in that scenario, there's discord around a lot of what your friendship circle is. You are shedding, as I say, your skin and moving into the things that are more long-term. So I do think you're in a very much a direct moment of change when you come to this reading, if you come to the right reading. So let's have a look at the social media thing, because I think we look at a very different evolution over there. This is the sort of shedding of your skin. This is the new you forming. So what sort of energies are around the social media presence for you? Again, I'm getting a lot of reversals. I don't feel like this is a reversed energy, but I think it just may be that you're in transition. You are wanting to bring something out that I think will ultimately bring you a lot more recognition. But you're a little bit nervous still about how to do that. So you're in this transition thing of moving from what hasn't worked. So there's probably elements of this that has been in your social media, social sort of influencing sort of groups and so forth. But you are starting to plan new things. You just haven't necessarily come out and said it yet and closed out the old. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, I think. And I think some of the sort of connections or whatever with the Ten of Pentacles and here with the Four of Wands, even though it's reversed, have come through family and that kind of thing. So I think you've got to negotiate some of that around what you do, and particularly again with the mother sort of energy, you may feel like you are moving away from motherly influence or something, but it hasn't quite happened yet. But to me it's a very different thing. It's once you've sort of like worked out what isn't working for you, then it really shifts what you do and how you market yourself very literally, and what you present and how you nurture others and so forth. And it is more material. It is about growth. It's about abundance. But I don't think that you've really stepped into that yet. You're a little bit nervous still about the competition, a little bit nervous about whether you'll be recognized. But the sense very much over here is, yes, you will be successful. Back yourself on this. So let's see what you don't see, what you don't know about your friendship and social media circles at the moment. Okay. So what you don't know is that you're more ready than you think. With two knights, Knight of Cups and Knight of Swords, you are very well advanced in what you believe about this and what you feel about it. And you are ready to make that decision and strike out, but you don't quite yet know that. I think there's still some wounds and stuff to heal around moving away from what didn't work. And what Spirit is also saying you don't know is that once you take that step, and it is a bit of a step of faith with it's the King of Swords and the Knight of Cups. So King even more so. I don't know why I read that like the Knight, but the King of Swords. Very, very developed sort of philosophy and so forth. When you take that step, it seems to bring love, connection and so forth in for you, and the people that really do connect with you. So you're not going to, if you feel, if I leave behind all of this, am I going to be all on my own? The answer to that is no. You're going to draw people in with really great communication skills and with really great sort of nurturing, growth, abundance, orientation and so forth. And your philosophy is more developed than you're giving yourself credit for. So Spirit's saying you're kind of sitting in a little bit of a suppressed energy at the moment, knowing you need to make this change and move on, wondering if you walk out one door, is there another door to walk in? And Spirit is saying, yes, there is, that you will find that quite quickly because you're more clear on this than you're giving yourself credit for. Okay, so let's have a look at what kind of spiritual energies might help to bring in the friends and influence you want, since I think you're definitely in a situation where you need to find the new. So we'll use 3 different decks to get that kind of energy for you, pile 2. Lemurian soul. Your Lemurian soul swims in the sea of oneness. You're the earth keepers that hold the light and codes of unity. So there's something about starseed connections with you. You'll find you will find your tribe because of that. There's sort of like others who are on that pathway, I think, is what Spirit's saying. And Guardian. The Guardian stands at the threshold of your progress. May your doors, paths and gates be open. So I think that's a Guardian will watch over you. Maybe connected to Lemurian sort of energy for you. But definitely you will be protected. You're ready to cross the threshold. You're more ready, Spirit is saying, than you possibly think. Let's see some other energy spiritually around this for you. Endurance. Okay. Confidence. Yeah. You've been sitting in endurance, enduring, you know, like how do I close this out and so forth. You need to move into confidence. There's a better sort of set of people to be around. And as I say, there are people that you are still going to keep. This is not like every friend you have is a problem, but there's some friendship group that you've been around that you just don't agree with anymore. And you're heading in a different direction. You're heading to something that's more abundant. They feel like they're a little bit more ascetic or something. But I don't know that they're necessarily honest with themselves. Let's get an Australian animal totem to also help you look at the energy you need to bring in the people that you want. Pygmy possum, curiosity. Yeah, be curious. Yeah, go out and talk to others, connect to others. Don't feel that what you're in now is the sum total of what is available to you. Be curious. You know, don't just endure it, you know, have confidence. Let Pygmy Possum help you be curious and find the right people and learn, you know, how much further along the path than you think that you are. Okay, so let's have a look at the energy of who would be good to come into your social circle now. So we're going to use a couple of decks that look at musicians and authors, not so much about who they are, but more some of the energy around them to see the sort of people that would be really helpful in your social media and your friendship circle. And then we're also going to look at a bit of astrology around that and some archangel energy. But firstly, a couple of cards for musicians that might be relevant, apart from Kate Bush, which we've already seen. Kylie Minogue, okay. And Willie Nelson, okay. There's a kind of a fun energy in both of those, I think. Kylie Minogue, very sort of youthful, very confident, very able to kind of sort of like find the right relationships and shift into who she was through some key relationships. And with the Three of Hearts, that's like the Three of Cups. You will find the people to enjoy. At the moment, you're not with them, but you will find that. And with Willie Nelson, so this Seven of Diamonds is like the Seven of Wands. Once you have the courage to get out there and do it and to be a bit different, because he was a bit different. But there's folk country that sort of suggests sort of like connecting to maybe, yeah, sort of almost not necessarily family roots, but cultural roots, that kind of thing could be a way to sort of draw that in. Maybe you pushed against that to start with and then ended up somewhere that was a false start for you. Let's see around writer energy. George Orwell, okay. And Albert Camus. Oh, well, you're deep, I've got to say. All right, so, and you draw in deep people, but people who are really not afraid to look at the depths and what's really going on. Because George Orwell, of course, the writer of 1984 and Animal Farm, with the Three of Spades, so that's effectively like the Three of Pentacles. There's a foundation that you could have with people who understand the truth, even if it's not palatable. It may be that some of the false beliefs are very much around, oh, everything's fine, like I don't need to look at anything, I have my beliefs and that's all I need. George Orwell, very much an energy that challenges that and says, you know, the road to tyranny is just turning a blind eye and accepting things. So I think there's something about those sort of people around you. And Albert Camus, of course, was very sort of philosophical, very different in the way that he looked at the world. And with the Ace of Hearts, that's like the Ace of Cups. There is the potential, I think, for a relationship coming in with that. And it may be someone who has that kind of Albert Camus sort of quirky, different way of looking at things, you know, very philosophical sort of energy around it as well. Let's see what astrology energy is around people that would be good in your social circle. The Moon, psychic, spiritual people, but genuinely psychic and spiritual. I think that some of you have been around people who it's all sort of like surface rather than reality. And the ninth house, well-educated people, people with the same sort of philosophical grounding, people who want to make a difference in the world, in sort of philosophical sort of energy. They're people like truly, authentically psychic and emotional and connected to their philosophy. That's important, not to be all talk. I feel like you've been around people who are all talk, and you're moving into a cycle where it's going to be more real and you'll get the right people, but there's a little bit of a kind of separation anxiety. Let's see what archangels can help you, pile 2. Metatron, connection. So the writer energy here, because Metatron was a scribe of the divine. So I feel like there's something about these energies, that they're being able to confront the truth and the deep philosophical stuff. That's very important for the right connections for you. And Michael, those that give you strength, and those that sort of open up your communication ability, who want to hear what you have to say. I suspect you're in very sort of stuck, conservative, and I mean that in a broader sense, not necessarily politically, but conservative sort of like environments and friendships where there were just ways that you were supposed to believe and ways you were supposed to act, and anything quirky was not accepted. So those that give you the strength to be and communicate who you are and to take yourself forward, and I think a journey through your social media to abundance really, are the ones that are the right ones to connect to. Okay, so to finish off, let's get some energy astrologically around your 11th house, and then we'll also use the Astro Chakra cards for the last pieces of advice from Spirit for you. So Cardinal, that's all about being initiating, being assertive. You need to start to look at who you want in your life. Don't just follow. You're meant to sort of lead out and be quirky and different. Gemini. So Gemini again, it's really tilting to a lot of the really good connections you're going to get through things like social media, those sort of connections, and initially, and through communication in general. Waning Crescent, release control of the universe. Let go of that which is not going to shift with you. And Fixed, consistency, stability. So it's saying quite clearly, some will need to go, some will stay. You're not going to lose all your friends or anything like that and have to start from scratch. But those that are not able to move with you, they won't stay in the piece, but you're heading towards some very good communication with others. So let's finish off with Astro Chakra energy for you, pile 2. Solar plexus chakra, the root chakra, and the heart chakra. Okay, I do think that many of you, this shift is going to bring in love. If you aren't, I mean, if you're in a good relationship now, that's, discard that bit. It's not really relevant. But, or it's saying that love will survive this if that's the case. But I think for many of you, it is bringing in something, a meeting of the minds in particular, with Mercury there again, and the Gemini sort of energy. Might even be a Gemini that you draw in, or someone with Gemini strongly in their chart. With the solar plexus chakra, which is about your personal power. It is about you being an individual, with Uranus there, being a nonconformist. You've been forced to conform. You're meant to do something else. This is where you get your energy, really seeing that this is about who you are and what you're going to be in the world and how you're going to make money. This is about creating the life that you want. That gives you the power of assertion to move out of that which was not working and move towards that which will nourish the heart and nourish the mind and give you self-acceptance. So I do think, as I said right from the beginning, that most people who've come to this reading, if you've come to the right reading, you're in a position or a period of transition. But I think it will be a successful transition. You just need to trust that energy and trust yourself. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, love to hear about it. Other than that, I hope to see you in other You Through the Houses episodes, and also in more general pick a card readings in the future. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So these cards here are around the energy around your friendships, and these are around social media, just moving them a little bit closer. That says stability. Sorry about the ring light reflection on the card. And this is interesting. I find it really interesting, the kind of energies up here and then the energy here, because they're almost like, in both sides of this, your friendship circle and also in the side that's around your social media, they're almost like the odd things out, and yet they connect. So why I say that is that around friendships here with hierarchy, home, and then we have Michael Bloomberg over here around social media, I feel as though there is something around your friendships, possibly coming from your home upbringing, the background that you've had, that has been a bit hierarchical, that has been a bit about what social status, what group could you be in, what clique could you be in. You know, it's almost got a feeling with something like Michael Bloomberg over here, which is very powerful sort of media mogul and someone who also, you know, tilted at politics as well. So a very powerful man. And hierarchy here, and then home, which might connect, as I say, to family, of sort of, you know, going to Ivy League schools and you know, being part of Skull and Bones or something. Like, it doesn't have to be directly that, but there's one energy which is about, I think, almost heritage and power in some way that connects to friendships, and it connects to your social media. It gives you some opportunities and ways of using social media, maybe very much towards investment and building a kind of material outcome that you want. And friendships seem to also have that. I feel like there is sort of some beneficial connections through friendships, either through birth with home or through a broader family and friends network, but it is very social class. But then the interesting thing is, so on one hand you get, okay, somebody who's had sort of some very beneficial or lucky kind of connections, or knows how to make those connections and feel at home with people who have power and hierarchy, and knows how to like kind of bring that into being, you know, through social media and so forth. But on the other hand, over here you have, really, I'm a lover, you know, I want, it's all about relationship and it's all very private. And over here you have, and I'm an iconoclast. I don't want to just go with structure. So there's a really interesting kind of push-pull. So in your friendships, as I say, I think that many of you will have very beneficial social circles, or be able to move in the sort of realms of power and influence and status very easily, for wherever you'll feel at home there. But you'll also be that kind of hidden subversive with this, with Uranus here, because you don't want to be just part of a social class. You want to be yourself, and you want to be very creatively open and free with Bob Marley. So you're kind of able to mix with the social groups and the social structures and class and all that, but you are very different at the same time. I mean, a kind of energy that it makes me think of is, if you look at sort of some characters, say, from literature, if you look at something like Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, she was certainly able to understand the social milieu she was in, the class, how to do all that, but she was also, in her own way, because of her wit and intelligence, able to subvert the paradigm a bit. So that's kind of what it feels like. It feels like you can fit in with power, but you're also kind of underneath using your connections to subvert that a bit, and to be the kind of the different one in the group in some way. So there's a push-pull energy between friendships that are, as I say, within a class and within power and all that kind of thing, in whatever level it is in your life, and your wish to be very, very free and very much who you are. And then over here, there's this sort of sense of a lot of the kind of like social media could be used to build an empire, media, investment, all of that kind of thing. But really what you're looking for is the ideal relationship, and for that to be very private. So it's like you'd almost look into social media to make that connection, but then you'd want to almost instantly take it off social media. So part of this feels like you'll want to show with your difference that you can create your own empire to draw in someone who sees you as high value, I think, and then to be very private. But on the other hand, as I say, you kind of know that you have to mix with the powerful to become powerful. So very interesting sort of energy. And I think many of you, as I say, would probably have sort of like social status already. If not, you're able to get in there and mimic it and show it if you needed to. So, and to then from there build your own empire. So let's have a look with tarot for a little bit more information. So we're going to ask firstly, you know, what's going on around your current friendship energy, then what's going on around your current social media, and then what don't you see? So firstly, what's the energy around pile 3's friendship circle at the moment? Oh, that's the blank card. This deck has a blank card. I'll get to what that means. Okay. So I might talk about the blank card first. So the blank card, I only have a few decks that ever have it. It's sort of a card that in some ways is there, but it's not one of the particular tarot cards. And in this case, it's sort of just shown by having the back on both sides. And I keep it in the decks when they have it, because I do think it's a very interesting sort of card or energy. It tends to suggest that something is coming that's not yet formed. So I would say that there is someone coming into your social circle who I think will be kind of at your level and move you from the social strata, help you open up this sort of Uranian energy and be more help you to be a leader and so forth. And they may be a love match as well. I mean, it just sort of depends. We'll see what else comes out as the reading goes on. But I think there's someone and they haven't come into your field yet. And they come kind of at the right time, because it looks like you're starting to get to boiling point around, this is fine, but I'm not getting to be myself, and yes, I'm being invited to all the right parties, or I'm in the right clubs, or whatever it might be. And I can mix with the best of them there, but I just so want to do something different and be different and so forth. I don't want to be a media mogul. I want to be a singer or something. Like, there's that kind of energy around it. And you are getting to that point where you feel a little bit guilty in a way of feeling that way, but you know that you want to make some different decisions about who you mix with, and you know that there's some conflict around all of that. But something's coming in, and it's to pick up your sort of Uranian energy, your capacity to sort of create yourself and so forth, your creativity. That's coming in. So there's an important person coming into your social circle, I think, in the not too distant future, pile 3, but I don't think they're there yet. I don't think you know this person yet. Okay, let's have a look at the social media influence around you at the moment. Okay, you can definitely make money through your communication skills, through media in some way. You are definitely able to make money on social media, be a social media influencer, run an online business. There's something like that. You're definitely able to do that, and that energy is already there. It's already there. So it's not just about who you might know, your social connections. It's already there. You're already establishing that. I think that you are helping people deal with emotional situations. I think there's a lot of emotional sort of fallout around certain sort of social media groups and so forth, and people who might be a bit brokenhearted. You might be, if you're searching for love, be hanging around sites that are about finding love, and you're sort of coming at the moment around people who are just disappointed, like serially disappointed. It's almost like there might be two sides to what you're doing in social media, and one is about the search for love and one is around career, and the career and money is more developed at this point. You've got the Midas touch, the Michael Bloomberg feeling there. But I also think this may be just kind of like looking for this love. But I think that even if this person isn't the person, I think once that starts to shift, that's what kind of brings that in. So it's almost like, I think there's a little bit of a thing about don't spend too much around those who are just serially unhappy when you're looking for love. It's more like you creating your real self, and what's different about you is going to draw that in. So let's see what you don't know. Okay, what you're not seeing is in a sense in having a bet both ways, which is going on at the moment. It's perfectly understandable, but you're a little bit more caught in the powers of the world than you possibly think. You're a little bit more conservative about this than what you fully want to be with your friendships, which is very much you and very much about transformation and creativity. You're tilting more towards the material, which is probably because you're building your business or something like that. You're building your career, your social profile, your career profile or whatever. So it's not necessarily wrong, but it is saying at the moment that's where a lot of your energy is caught. And so if you are wanting to be sort of more creative and you are wanting to bring in love, I mean, I think the love wait till some of this comes. I think, in fact, both wait. I don't think it's a problem that you're doing this, because I think that there's something coming in that is not seen yet that is going to sort of help you move towards that aspect more. But I think don't underestimate how much you are relying on your capacity to be able to be in the realm of the powerful. That just be aware of that at this point in time you're not as revolutionary as you might want to be, and that's okay, but just know that that's the case. Okay. So it might be don't bite the hand that feeds you at the moment if there are sort of like social groups and so forth that are supporting you in some way. So sorry if you heard that. I just managed to sort of move a deck and make it sort of all fall on the floor. So I'm just going to pause the video for a second. Sorry for that. So I'm back again. So what we're going to look at now is we're going to look at some energies, spiritual energies that can help you bring in the people that you want in your life. And I think it is the more creative and also potentially this love relationship. So let's see what spiritual advice Spirit has for you about bringing in the right sort of energies to your social circles and social networks. We've got way changer. You're a liberating force here to inspire change and challenge the system. So there is something in this thing. It's like you're within the system, but you are meant to challenge it. And I think once this unknown energy sort of kicks in, you're going to find it's sort of natural because it becomes part of what you can do. Your understanding of the business will turn out to be, all the power structures will turn out to be part of what you're meant to do. So I don't think Spirit's too concerned. And then we have stillness. In the quietness of the moment, you can hear your inner voice more clearly. So just wait. Just be still. Things will come in divine timing, particularly with that blank card. Okay, let's use a different deck. So we have serenity. Yeah, I'm going to put that over here. Just allowing yourself to be serene. It's okay. Just allow it to happen in good time. And abundance, yeah, because you're going to bring abundance in. There's no doubt about that. You're already on the way to doing that, I think, in one form or another. Even if it's right at the beginning of your career, you're on the right path for that. There's no doubt about that. Let's get you an animal totem, an Australian animal totem, to help you draw in the right sort of friendships, connections, social networks, social influence. That's interesting. This came up for one of the others, possum, the trickster. That might be part of this energy, maybe being a bit of a trickster, using humour. Humour might be a way to sort of like tease out who's really more like you within these sort of more staid social circles and who isn't. Humour and sort of games and that kind of thing. There's some sort of energy with the possum to help you find your people, maybe through humour, satire, that kind of thing. Okay, so let's get an idea about what are the right sort of people for you. So we're going to use a couple of decks that are actually playing card decks, but they have firstly people from music and then also people from literature. And I'm really looking both for the meaning of the card, when aligned to the tarot, but I'm also looking for the character that we get to see whether that tells us something about the sort of really good energies for you to draw into your social circle. So from the music world, we have Britney Spears. Wow, okay. And Beyonce. Okay. And then from the literary world, we have Thomas Pynchon and William Faulkner. So modern and postmodern sort of energy around writing. So firstly, there's a sense of lightheartedness and enjoying life and being a bit different with both Britney Spears and Beyonce, and of being a kind of a mix between almost innocence and a kind of fierce power as well. So those sort of people, like a kind of amalgam of that sort of thing, is probably what you're trying to draw in. With the Four of Hearts, that's like the Four of Cups. So drawing in people that need a little bit of emotional nurturing and healing, picking up that sort of lover energy, I think is part of it for you. And then also the Queen of Cups, people who are very emotionally authentic. So I think that when you're in the corridors of power, it doesn't feel that way. Part of what you want to do to be authentic to yourself and to draw love in is to draw in people who feel that same pull towards getting out of being emotionally stuck and being emotionally authentic. With Thomas Pynchon, postmodern sort of writing, different, eclectic, again, that kind of Uranian sort of stuff. William Faulkner, a little bit more traditional sort of writer, but both of them modern, so it's not sort of classic or traditional in that sense. It's not the powers of the world. It's more exploring sort of social issues and so forth. With the King of Clubs, that's like the King of Swords. So people who are very clever, people who are very fair-minded is important to you. And with the Two of Spades, which is like the Two of Pentacles, those that give material choice. Fair people who will be good collaborators materially. So again, it's almost like two types of people. You're drawing in the potential love match. You're also drawing in the really good, fair people with similar sort of viewpoints to you, but new and wanting to sort of be a little bit iconoclastic, to bring in the sort of like monetary stuff. So let's have a look at the astrology energy that you could draw in. And I apologize if there was a bit of a glitch there, but the computer suddenly just stopped, and so I had to kind of reload everything. So looking at astrology energy around what would be good to bring in for your friendship and social media circles. Venus, so love, definitely that love connection. There's definitely something about love for you coming in through your social media, and the 12th house that you want to keep private. So there's something, I think whatever this energy is around is very, very private. This is more out in the world. Let's have a look at some archangel support for you as well in terms of bringing in the right sort of people into your social circles. Pile 3. So Zadkiel, benevolence, your caring and support for others and so forth. You're a little bit more caring than this sort of material world and social status that you're caught up in. And Zadkiel also about forgiveness. So it may be that, you know, those that you keep in your life through this, you need to sort of forgive yourself and others for having that kind of social class viewpoint. But I think you're broadening out and you're going to sort of break through some of that and find different ways to be abundant and different ways to bring people close to you. So to finish off, we're going to look at some astrology energy around your 11th house, and then we'll also look at the Astro Chakra cards. So astrology, 12th house again. You're very private about this actually, and even when you're not feeling that you're fitting in or that you're in these sort of social circles that aren't really who you are, you're very private about your feelings with it. Conjunction, yeah, it's about a relationship and a connection. We'll have a look at the planets for that. Cardinal, you are meant to be assertive about who you want to be in your social circles. This is why some of the sort of status stuff is too restrictive for you. And Uranus, again, you are meant to stir things up a bit. Let's have a look at the planets for the conjunction. The Sun, so this is about finding your life path with someone. Sun and Mercury, that came up very quickly. So you're meant to find a connection that is a meeting of the minds and a meeting of life paths. And I think you're going to do that. I think that's going to come through your social media and your social connections, definitely. Let's finish off with the Astro Chakra cards, just for any other information for you to bring it all together. So we've got the Crown Chakra, so very spiritual connections. We've been talking largely about romance and material, but there's a very spiritual thing for you, and that helps bring about your solar plexus transformative power with Pluto there. So this is like having Neptune and the Sun conjunct. So it's a bit like having Sun and Mercury. This is about the mind. This is about the spiritual information. So you get your downloads and your understanding about who to be with, both from an intellectual sort of conversation, but also from a spiritual sort of channeling. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to dreams and inspiration. It's all about you becoming more who you are. And that is a transformative thing, to come from one social circle and almost create a new one. And that is to strengthen you. So I do think that you will evolve a lot, and you will also find a great love through your sort of friendship and social circle and social media. But I think you'll also find power, but power on your terms. So I hope that resonates for you, pile 3. I'm sorry for the little glitch near the end. I hope you enjoyed the reading, and if so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 4, to your reading. So these cards here are around the energies around your friendship circle. These are a little bit more around your social networking and social media sort of profile, and then how they might connect we'll look at. And sorry for the ring light that says angelic help there. I'll just move it so you can see it a bit better. So this is interesting. This looks to me as though you are kind of both within a social circle, where being within it and consolidating there is going to be helpful for you sort of artistically, or to make money and to make your fortune. But you also need to be a little bit detached from it and looking from a bigger picture and understanding you're enough. because the energy that we have here, we have fortune. There is fortune around the people that you connect with and your friends. And you are probably seen as fortunate around them. In fact, some of them might think you're lucky and think if you achieve something or you build any kind of wealth that it's luck more than anything. But in reality, you have a very strong presence and a very strong individuality and a very big picture view of things, and you are enough. But I think that some of your friends may make you feel like you're not enough sometimes, or that you should be more like them or something like that. There's almost a constrictive holding you to a particular position type of feeling here while you want to expand and look at the new and so forth. So some of your journey around your friendship circles is to work out the ones that are helping you with your fortune and growth, and those that would maybe tie you down or make you feel less than. So I do think that for people at Pile 4, there is a bit of competitive spirit around some of the friendship circle. But on the other hand, there are some that are fortunate and some that have a bigger picture. So I think one of your questions should always be, what frenemies do you have compared to what friends, and to sort of try and move on from the frenemies and so forth. Because I think you do attract some jealousy. The Johnny Cash sort of card here makes me feel of, iconic sort of like creative energy that maybe is sort of a little bit compressed with the 4 here, because of, maybe your friends don't feel enough and then they want to kind of sort of make you feel that way instead. It's not going to be all of them, but there is that. There's some that are very fortunate for you, some that are not. And some of your social networks are going to be about fortune, money and so forth. You actually have quite a genius for doing this. You can almost make it an art form to make money. Some of you may do social media influencing around that sort of thing. And some of you have very strong sort of like spiritual sort of guiding to that, law of attraction, possibly that sort of thing, angelic sort of help. So there's an art form that you make to making money and to having your presence known. There's sort of that kind of magic of a Michael Jordan, being able to reach for the heights and so forth, and being very much your own trademark. So there's something about you, something very specific about you. And this is why if there's jealousy energy, it's important to know about it. I feel like you truly come into your own in a sort of transformative, your power comes in around the time of your Saturn return. So the Saturn return, the first Saturn return anyway, is normally between about 28 and 30. So it's when Saturn comes back to its natal position in the chart, and it's where we really come into our own, we become who we are. So many of you might be there. If not, you could look, if you're looking back, you could look back to that, to being a pivotal point where you started to sort of understand how you could connect and use networks to build your fortune, to build your brand. And the things that you realised there and the changes that you went through there, Spirit is maybe hearkening back to that to make you think of the next step of the journey. And if you aren't at it yet, then maybe Spirit is saying to start to prepare, to think that by the time you get to that age, you want to know what your individual trademark is and how you want to make money. And that should be what you're creating out there in social networks. You should be drawing in that kind of energy that way and not having the friends that maybe hold you back. So I do think that most of the people here for this reading have quite a destiny to be well known and to be well off, but I do think you're also going to have to deal with jealousy. So how one deals with that is an important part of how long it takes to realise the benefits of the Saturn return and the Plutonic sort of transformation. So let's have a look at tarot. We're going to ask about more current sort of immediate energies around your friendship circle, around your social media, and then what you don't know. So around your friendship circle right now. Okay, there's a bit of good and a bit of bad here, and that's sort of the energy that I had around this. I think for many you're seen as a leader, you're seen as a kind of an aspirational sort of person, but there's at least one person who's either emotionally or mentally manipulative around you, definitely. So that's worth being aware of. There's someone who I think very much is a good connection for you, and then there's someone who almost blames you for when things aren't working out. So you kind of draw less mature energy to you quite often by the looks of things with the sort of pages here, because you have such a strong presence within yourself and so forth. And there's sort of like a bit of emotional manipulation that occurs with some of them. But there are good people around you as well. It's just there's somebody who I don't think takes responsibility for themselves and they draw a lot of energy, and they're kind of into the sort of mind games and so forth. So I think it's very important for Pile 4 for you to work out who is it. I think it's probably one person in particular. I mean, for some of you it might be a group in particular out of the groups that you mix with, but they're kind of taking their toll on you enjoying things, because there are good people around you, people with a similar sort of like creative energy who will kind of look up to you and see you as someone who is a beacon of fortune and development and big picture thinking. But there's also the kind of hangers on by the looks of things. Let's see what it's playing out like in your social media, social influencing type of realm of life. Okay, I don't think you're quite at this Plutonian change yet. I think that there are things that you're closing out on, and you're working out like who you want to connect with on this level. There may in fact even have been some connections around that you need to let go, or there could be a crossover between there's some friends who are actually mainly social media sort of friends. But you're trying to work out how to kind of what you want to transform. With Four of Pentacles reversed, you haven't really come out and said that yet. You're still making decisions. I feel like you feel like something didn't work out. So there was a reversal of fortune or something, and this could be because of competition from friends. But it's going to work out. It's just a matter of you've got to go through the decision, and you've got to kind of get the kind of clarity of a Saturn return with the Plutonian energy. And you can call out for angelic help, definitely. You have an art for this. You are able to do it. It's just, I think at the moment you're sort of halting it. It may in fact even be this person who's sort of like affecting your self-esteem and your self-confidence on some level. So let's see what you don't know around your social media and social networks at the moment. Okay. You don't know that there are some really good connections that I think are going to come through once you really start to sort out what you want to do and how you want to present yourself on social media. I think that's still a work in progress. Once you've done that, I think that you will be seen as an expert on something, so money or art or something. There's something that you can really lead out on and people really follow. You don't know how sort of well schooled you are in that. You sort of don't even realize how much effort you've put into it. Maybe because it felt like creativity or art, it felt like fun, it felt like just sort of like having an interesting discussion on social media with people, but there's a lot behind what you do, and there are people who would connect with you. I just don't think you've seen them yet, because I think you're dealing with some frenemy energy operating more generally. So given that, why don't we have a look at what sort of spiritual energies might help you bring the right people in and move some of that frenemy energy out? Apprentice, inspired learning is the call of the soul in pursuit of self-mastery. I think there's something about you where I think through social media and others, you may have apprentices, you may teach, you may show people a framework and so forth. The energy is to find the one who wants to be a true apprentice, not someone who wants to kind of covertly compete with you. When you find the people who really do want to learn what you have to show, that's the right sort of energy for you. And moving on, step with courage into a new phase of life. Look back only to see how far you've come. So yeah, with the ones that aren't going to be that, who are competing with you, move on. It's energy that's not going to get resolved or fixed up. It's an issue that they have. Let's see what else we can find for you. Wisdom. Okay, because yes, you have the wisdom. And it will be even more the case when you hit the Saturn return, because that's about wisdom. The wisdom to be able to go through transformation at the right sort of pace. And memory. Yeah, some of these, I mean, they don't necessarily have to be bad memories even, but some things need to be moved into the past for you so that you can bring in the new. That's part of the sense of Pluto, and even Aquarius bringing in the new. Let's get you an animal totem, an Australian animal totem, to help you bring in the right friendship energy. Greater Bilby, Dark Night of the Soul. Yeah, So I think it's just saying, look, there's some of this is going to be a bit hurtful, I think, when you really work out who this people, personal people are. You will move on. You will thrive once you've done it. But I think it's going to be a bit disappointing. Allow yourself to go into the dark night of the soul to do that. The greater Bilby totem will be there to sort of help you through that so that you can move on, and also call on angelic help. We're going to look in the next section of this around angelic sort of support for you. So I think that's going to be important. But what we're going to do first is use a couple of decks that have playing cards, and in one it's with sort of musicians and in another it's with writers. So I'm looking here primarily a bit about who comes up, about the kind of energy around them. This is around good people to come into your social circle or who may already be in your social circle. And I'm also looking at it as you would read it as tarot cards as well. So around the musician energy we have, wow, Freddie Mercury and Nina Simone. Wow, okay. And then around the writer energy, Gertrude Stein and Catherine Mansfield. Okay. So around the sort of like the musical energy here, I mean, I think with Freddie Mercury and Nina Simone is very much in sort of the Plutonian depths and the sort of all that kind of thing. Freddie Mercury is like Aquarius, like the new, like the artist, like clashing different things and taking things forward in different ways. So I think there are those sort of people who go to the depths and who are very much about the new that are important in your social circle. With the Queen of Spades, that's effectively like the Queen of Pentacles. So loyal people, people who will be loyal to you, people who aren't competing with you. And with the Seven of Clubs, that's like the Seven of Swords. And that would suggest ones who know how to negotiate, ones who are clever, who can meet you on a mental level, who aren't competing with you because they're clever too. And there's a lot of cleverness in the energy here around both Catherine Mansfield and Gertrude Stein, both very clever, very sort of articulate sort of writers in their particular fields. Eight of Spades is like the Eight of Pentacles, so very skilled people, people who are not threatened by your skill and your artistry because they are that way too. And with the Six of Spades, that's like the Six of Pentacles, people who are generous and who want to be mutually supportive. So this really is just about moving away from the energy that feeds off you to those that are your peers and who can work with you. Let's have a look at some astrology energy around the people that would be good to have around you. Got the 8th house. So I'm going to put that over there. That feels like Pluto, Nina Simone, people who are spiritually able to go into the dark night of the soul, who can go to the depths like you and who maybe experience similar things to you around fair weather friends and frenemies and so forth. And the 3rd house, people who are very clever, very good communicators, who I think you're very good at sort of manifestation and transformation. Maybe these people are very good at communicating it. They may be able to help you with that particular aspect. And as I said, because you've got angelic help, we're also looking at archangel energy around the right sort of energy for your friendship. So let's see what we get there. Michael, inner beliefs, and Raphael, healing. Okay, so it is about sort of belief in self and communication that strengthens, communication that isn't working against you, like at least one person is. And Raphael about healing the energy, healing the hurt, because there is hurt around this, I think. I'm sorry to say it, pile 4, but I do think there's hurt around this. It may even be that the frenemy or frenemies is someone that you really cared about and it is hurtful, but Raphael is here to help you heal from that and to get back onto your life path with the sun energy. Okay, so here's a little bit of a tricky energy, but you are moving to something much better and you will be strengthened by it. Let's look at this other astrology energy that's around your social network, social media, friendship circles, and so forth. I have Uranus, so a lot of change. Pluto, Uranus, Aquarius, you're all about change. 3rd house, you're also all about communication, communicating that change. Some of you may be writers, or the people that are coming in may be writers. Virgo, everything in its place, you know, and doing things appropriately and so forth. And full moon, the harvest, you know, reaping what you've sown, bringing things to a harvest, bringing things to an end, the Saturn return, moving forward. So this change process is meant to happen to bring in better energies for you, pile 4. Let's finish off with some Astro Chakra cards just to get a little bit more information for you about how to best use the energies in your 11th house. So we have the Sacral Chakra, the Throat Chakra, communication again, third house, and the Crown Chakra, so the angelic help and the sort of spiritual connections. With Saturn, so Saturn return, isn't that interesting? Saturn return is connecting into the angelic help. Even if it isn't literally in the time of the Saturn return, there's something, I think Saturn's strong in your chart and will work well for you and bring the discipline and the spiritual growth that you need with that in the Crown Chakra. The transformation is very much connected to the communication. There's something about communication with you. Whether you work in communication, you work around writers or communicators, there's something like that that's part of this transformation that brings in the abundance for you, brings in the artistry and so forth. And then your creative flair, is part of your individuality with Uranus there and with change. So that what is different about you that people are trying to almost tell you isn't good enough will eventually be the very thing that you communicates your change and brings in your abundance. So try not to be too hurt. I think there is a little bit of hurt energy here, but try not to be too hurt because you are heading towards better social circles, better friendships, better connections. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 4. I hope it wasn't too hurtful because, as I say, I can kind of feel the energy off it. It is a bit disappointing, but I think you do move into something much better and relatively quickly, I think. And from there, you will only grow strength by strength because you know that you can deal with this and you can move on and you can shed the skin and do the new if you need. You understand your own strength that way. So I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. And if you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear about it. Beyond that, I'd love to see you in other episodes of the You Through the Houses series, or if you've seen all of those, there's actually still one more to come if you're seeing this when it is being published. So that's the 12th house. But beyond that, I hope that I see you in other pick a card readings, the more general ones in the future.